Welcome to Inside the Studio. I'm Evan Sanford. Thanks so much for joining us this week. We've got a great show for you. My guest is University of Redlands student Sean Dunnington, who's class of 2019. He was born in New York City, but has also lived on Hawaii Island since he was 10 years old. Sean is a Hunsaker scholar, a Johnston student, as well as an admissions host. His play entitled Flatfish was chosen by a festival and will be performed in Manhattan in January 2017. It's such a pleasure to have him on the program. Sean, welcome to Inside the Studio.
Thanks, Evan. Great to be here.
Well, let's start with how you ended up at the University of Redlands. What made you choose Redlands over some of the other schools you were looking at?
That's a great question. I answer that every day at the end of my tour. So, Kevin Dillery, the vice president of admissions, came to my school in Hawaii, Parker School, and I had a graduating class of about 25, so there was a small amount of people there, about 6 or 7. And he was talking to me about the university. I was not originally applying to it. I applied to 10 other schools, and that was my list, 10, no others. My college counselor made me apply to some schools in California. She told me to go to the Redlands meeting. I did. I actually really liked it. I was very surprised by what I heard. All my friends left, and I stayed behind. I actually sent them away, but I stayed behind. And he told me about this scholarship and said that it looks like a possibility that I might get chosen for it. So this was the first year that the scholarship was going to be enacted. It's called the Hunsaker Scholarship. There was a $35 million endowment for it. And I was nominated for it, which is really cool. The school flew me out along with about 50 other students, seniors in high school, and we competed for it. We had to do lots of races and fun like coloring competitions. I'm just kidding.
Oh, I was like,
No.
I would have heard about that.
It was a series of interviews.
That's funny.
A little more professional. And about 16 of us got it, and I was one of them. So that definitely...
Congratulations.
Thank you. I think I would have came to the university either way, though. The Johnson Center is one of the biggest reasons why I came, because like the schools I was applying to in New York, it was open curriculum. I was able to form my own education and study playwriting and screenwriting, which was very cool to me. And one of the other big factors was really the community. When I came here on my tour, I was looking at other schools in the area, you know, the classic other schools that you look in Southern California that are private and liberal and whatnot. And when I came to Redlands, I said to my mom right before I went on the tour, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to like it. I did like it because I'm here right now.
Well, as a Hunsaker scholar, what are some of the things that you do in that role?
Well, we meet every so often. Last year it was about once a month. Now it's every other month just because we're getting busier and busier. The Hunsaker Scholarship is a leadership-based scholarship, so they chose people that cover leadership in very different areas, some in a community, some in a school, some in a passion, some in a family, et cetera, et cetera. And in those meetings, we really just discuss what's going on with our time and what we're doing. So there's no requirements for the Hunsaker Scholarship, which I find really great because that's a lot of stress off my back that I don't have to fulfill all these expectations. But I think a lot of us have these expectations for ourselves. So I joined a lot of clubs last year, about 10, and we all got really, really involved. But one of our biggest things is our sophomore year, which is right now. After spring semester and between that and our May term, we'll be flown out to DC for free, and we will be networking, whatever that means to us. I'm sure the people studying political science and business will have a lot of networking to do. I'm not sure what I'll be getting in theater, but I'm sure they'll find something for me to do.
Absolutely. And for those that are not in Johnston, can you explain kind of the process of applying and also going through your college education in the program?
Yes. What it means to be a Johnston student is that you form your own education. You have an emphasis rather than a major. You have written evaluations rather than numerical grades, and you don't have all the same requirements. At the University of Redlands, you have liberal art foundation requirements. In Johnston, you only have 3: breadth, depth, and cross-cultural. Breadth are classes outside of your emphasis. Depth are classes within your emphasis. And cross-cultural pretty much means you need to go abroad. But if you financially can't do that, there's other ways around. Most people don't argue with it, though.
What's your emphasis?
My emphasis is visual and dramatic narrative. That entails playwriting, screenwriting, English, creative writing, and philosophy. So I study about 5 different departments here, and it's all interdisciplinary, so I learn how to merge them together. My favorite part of Johnson is the contracting system. That's where we literally make a contract for every class we take. In it, we negotiate with our professors the terms of the class, and we basically edit the syllabus. So in every class I've had so far, I've contracted to exclusively write plays and screenplays. Did I say that right? Plays, screenplays. Plays,
All good.
screenplays. Plays and screenplays.
You would know better than I am. You're the expert.
Thanks.
Soon to be, at least, maybe.
Yeah,
When you graduate, you will be the
sure, I
expert.
would hope so.
Well, you've been very successful, and we'll talk about the play entitled Flatfish that you've made, and it's going to be very exciting for you next semester. But first, let's talk about what you do for the University of Redlands Artist Collective, also known as URAC. Much
Yes.
easier to say.
Yes, URAC. So I'm the publicity chair in URAC. URAC has, gosh, at this point I don't even know how many members. It feels like over 200. It's basically an outlet for students to be able to do self-ran productions. So in URAC, the board will host how many of our shows, and then students in the club will take them on in different roles, whether that be acting or directing or set designing, et cetera, et cetera. So this fall semester, we did Rocky Horror Picture Show. We did Haha Redlands, which was a comedy sketch show. We have our improv troupe, Citizen Kale, which has been performing a lot. I did publicity for all of those. I'm also in Citizen Kale, and I wrote a sketch for Haha Redlands. And they are also doing a student ran show, as they do every year. They chose out of how many ever. I couldn't be involved in the process of choosing the play because I submitted one, but they ended up choosing mine, which is called Flatfish. And that has now a production team of 6. Christiane Michael is directing it. There's an assistant director, set designer, stage manager, lighting designer, the whole dealio. And there's also a cast of 6. About 25 people auditioned, which was very cool because, you know, for small student ran shows, you would expect a small turnout. But we're starting to kind of pick up our feet and learn how to reach out to people. And it's becoming a really cool opportunity for everyone, including myself as a playwright. I made sure to come to a school where a play I had could be produced on the stage, or where I'd get the opportunity to do that.
Well, let's talk about more opportunities that are coming your way, especially in the spring. You're going to be working on a very special project. Tell us a little bit more about Big Brother Hamlet.
Yes. So Big Brother Hamlet is an adaptation of, obviously, Shakespeare's Hamlet. It's called Big Brother, I think as a reference to George Orwell. It has a lot of themes of surveillance, and it's a modern adaptation. It takes place about 30, 40 years in the future, and it is reduced extremely. The play Hamlet is about 5 hours. Big Brother Hamlet is about an hour to 90 minutes. The reason behind that is because we're going to be performing at the Fringe Festival in Edinburgh, Scotland, and in all their venues, your pieces have to be between 60 and 90 minutes, I believe. It's either 60 or 90 minutes. Somewhere in that realm. We're going to be performing in the Space venue, which is exclusively for high school and college productions. And it's one of the most popular ones. So it's a really cool opportunity, obviously. I'll be Horatio, which is Hamlet's best friend. He watches everyone die at the end. Sorry to spoil it.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Everyone, you know Hamlet, right?
I do.
Yeah,
I
everyone
do.
knows Hamlet.
I read it in English class.
Yeah, in high school?
Mm-hmm.
As
Of
we do.
course, of
Yeah.
course. What are you most looking forward to about this project?
I think working as an ensemble cast, I know our director, Chris Beach, has been talking a lot about us being able to work with the set, work with all of the technology that he's introducing to it, and being able to work on it together. So I think we're all going to be called for most rehearsals because even though all of us won't be in all the scenes, we'll be figuring out how one of us can run this part of the tech, another one will be moving this part of the set, because in Edinburgh, we'll be pretty much smashed between 4 other shows. So it will be one show right before us, we'll be waiting outside the door, then we'll move in, they'll take apart their set, we'll construct ours, and then right when we're done, we'll be leaving, and another production will be building their set. So we'll have to learn how to really create this production together and put it in our hands. Yeah, so I'm really excited for that. And also just to work on Shakespeare.
And, of course, in Scotland,
Yeah,
too.
you know, one of Shakespeare's arguably best pieces to be performed in the biggest theater festival in the world, that seems like one of the best opportunities I could find.
That seems incredible. Well, just stick around for a second. We'll be right back with more Inside the Studio. We'll see you in a minute. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the program. We're talking with Redlands student Sean Dunnington, and I'd like to move on to something that is going to be very exciting for you in the coming months. Your play entitled Flatfish. Where did the inspiration come from?
Oh, the inspiration.
Yes.
That's a great question. So last spring semester, I was in the playwriting class in which I first started to workshop Flatfish, and the inspiration came from our friend, Alyssa Riami. She wrote a piece about her mother, and in it she said that her mother was her soulmate, and that really inspired me. There was something about it that was fixated in my head, and I couldn't get that thought out about your family being your soulmate. I used to think a lot about existentialism in high school. I had so many little panic attacks, and I would think about what's the meaning of life, and I usually thought, well, it's probably love and connection or something like that. And so I always had this idea in my head that your soulmate, if you were to have one, or if that does exist, would be a lover or like someone you get married to, a partner, blah, blah, blah. So hearing someone say a family member really confused me, and I wanted to write about it. So Flatfish then came to be. It is about a brother and sister, Willie and Jill, who... Should I explain what it's about?
By all means.
Okay,
please.
well, here I go. I'm already starting now. So it's about this boy, Willie, who's about in his early 20s, and he is on his journey to find a soulmate, and it is being narrated by his sister, Jill. So Willie went missing for unknown reasons, but he left behind his journal in which he wrote down all of his stories of connecting with different people and all of these different experiences he has had, some amazing, some awful. And so we are seeing the story through Willie's journal, but through Jill's voice. So whatever she reads through the journal is what then we see on stage. So everything taking place with Willie is happened in the past, but everything that Jill is experiencing and understanding is happening in the present. And we kind of see both stories starting to close in together. Can I say the end? Is that a...
That's up to you. People are going to see it either way.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, one show's already sold out, but we'll get to that later.
You're right. You're right. I'm not going to say how it ends.
Okay.
But
there's the teaser for you to go and see.
There's the teaser. But Willie is missing, and she's trying to find out just why and how he left. And she's hoping to find her answers through the journal, but she ends up finding some other answers she did not intend on discovering.
All right. Now, what was the process of getting this submitted to the festival that it was submitted to? And talk about kind of the background of that festival. Where is it coming from? Who's hosting it and all that?
Yes, these are great questions. So it's called the Fresh Grind Festival, and it's hosted by Black Coffee Productions. So you can hear a little pun there. Yeah, you get it? Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's clever.
So this is actually the first year that it's going up, I believe. It is going to go up here at the University of Redlands. It's going to be going up in the Rabbit Hole on December 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. December 2nd and 3rd at 8 p.m. and December 4th at 2 p.m. We did have another show December 3rd at 2 p.m., but it is now sold out.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's really exciting. It's actually sold out to all Johnston students because the Johnston Center has their own budget, which they allocate to different student projects and places and funds. So Johnston then put together a budget to pay for all of, or at least 50 Johnston students to see the show on Saturday at 2 o'clock. So because this is part of my education, because I'm studying playwriting, and because Christiane, too, is studying storytelling and is directing it, and Katie Duncan, another Johnston student, is set designing it, this is kind of a big project for all of us, and having our community support us seemed important. And also, they all wanted to see it. So what a better way to do it than letting them all see it for free.
Now, let's talk about it's going to be in New York as well.
Yes.
So how exciting is that for you?
That's very exciting. That's what I was talking about in the Fresh Grind Festival. You know, the decision between going to school near LA and going to school near New York was pretty much almost deciding between playwriting and screenwriting to me, for obvious reasons, because of Hollywood and because of Broadway. And I didn't really think I would get any opportunities to write my work here. And also, I think I was a little scared about going to New York because, you know, it's very hard to get a bad play on Broadway, but it is very easy to get a bad movie produced. So I think I almost used that as my philosophy to go into screenwriting because it was easier, which is not true. But I almost gave up on the idea of trying to do something in New York. So I submitted it because my sister knew about it. She told me to. And I did it on a whim. I actually submitted 3 pieces, Flatfish being one of them. And out of however many plays were submitted, I've heard different numbers. One number I heard is 300. I like that number.
The highest?
Well, yeah.
Then go with that.
Sure, I like it because it sounds impressive to me. Out of 300 plays. But there was about 10 chosen. I believe 2 of them are musicals, and I believe 4 to 5 of them are short plays. And then the others, which would be 2, 3, maybe 4, are all one-act plays, mine being one of them. Flatfish is 50 pages. It will be about an hour. So it's almost unreal, the idea of it going up in New York, but it's motivating me again, and it's kind of helped me rediscover my passion for playwriting. So I've been doing a lot more of it since Flatfish was first chosen here, and now with this, I'm trying to, write as much as I can.
Well, you're going to be very busy over the next few months. You're going to be in New York, Scotland, D.C. You're going to be in multiple organizations doing multiple productions here. I'm glad you had some time for us today. Thank you so much for being on the program.
Thanks,
and thank you for joining us as well this week. That's all we have for you today. Until next time, I'm Evan Sanford, and this is Inside the Studio.